Hi, I'm Adam, and I like to make things to play games with. Board games, miniature games, tabletop RPGs, and games with action figures. And that's what we're going to be doing today. The hisstank. Iconic, nostalgic, with a terribly exposed underbelly. The bane of many a Joe operation. A classic design for a classic enemy. But it's blue. At least some of them were. So I wanted to find out what this venerated design might look like with a scale model treatment. After cleaning the model fully and waiting for it to dry, I grabbed my favourite rattle cans to give it a prime and a base coat. Halford's camouflage green for the primary base coat, and Halford's camouflage khaki for the accent colour. Going back over with the green to maintain the contrast. There was no real plan to this, other than thinking about where the turret was so that they kind of matched when they went back together. I masked off the clear canopy and around the tank tracks on both sides of the body. Rattle can time again. Oh, it's like Christmas morning all over again. I touch up anywhere the spray didn't reach with a matte flat black. And then masked off the crew compartment. A liberal coating of burnt umber craft paint wiped off with a rag does wonders for detail, creating a worn, lived-in look. I used a pin vise to drill the barrels because, well, pew pew pew! Then gave the cannons a light dry brushing in bright silver. And there's some details on the underside of the body that I picked out with a flat matte black. To start the weathering on the main body of the hisstank is back to our favourite burnt umber and an old t-shirt. No exacting technique here, just slather it on and wipe it off. And if it doesn't look right, just do it again. Wiping off excess in any hard to reach areas with a cotton bud. Q-tip if you're in the US. The tracks get a pass. It's really important to be as careful as possible with such a delicate model. Oops. Now we're getting somewhere. I use the same technique on the main body of the hisstank. Apply liberally and then wipe it off. Smack that like, hit subscribe, and ring that little bell. Rinse and repeat until we have something like this. Have you ever had a favourite mid-tone for weathering? Most good hardware stores will colour match. I gave the whole thing a second pass with this lighter shade. And you can really see the difference when comparing these two sides. Time to put it back together. No one's going to see inside the crew compartment, so we don't need to paint that, right? Wrong. Most of the coolest GI Joe and Star Wars custom vehicles I've seen have fully painted interiors. So whilst I'm not going to focus on this, I am going to fully paint, weather and add details to the cockpit. I paint a flat black or grey base to all the model's interior details. With highlights of silver in some areas to add contrast. With a few highlights in bright primary colours to mark buttons and switches. Touching up the edges to make sure there's a clean line when the canopy goes back on. Adding a liberal coating of homemade wash to accentuate the contrast, dull down the bright colours and to help hide any mistakes. A second pass with a lighter shade of the primary colours helps the buttons pop. Some matching olive drab on the canopy insert. And we start the second pass of weathering with a darker wash on the running gear. Military vehicles in the field are notoriously oily, greasy and dirty. So that's the look we're going for. A series of shades and pin washes to accentuate the details and tell a story. This hisstank hasn't been kept pristine on a parade ground. It's traversed slopes, driven through streams, crashed through undergrowth, led assaults in Springfield against the pit and defended Cobra Island. So it's going to look like it. Not every line has to be perfect, and not every surface has to have the same shade. And whilst most modern military vehicles shouldn't be in service long enough to actually start going rusty, it looks cool. I'll admit, I'm a sucker for rust. The edges get their first pass of sponging with Vallejo black brown. Anywhere the vehicle might get chips, knocks or scratches. The edges of the side skirts, the widest parts of the body, around the front grille. Anywhere you'd expect to get car park kisses in a theatre of operation. Including the inside edges of the canopy. least there's no more sponging.
Now you mention it, there's more edges on a tank than you think. Once we finish with the main body, we darken some of the recesses to add depth. An airbrush would be superb here, but you can still achieve so much with a stiff bristled brush. Try saying that after a few rounds. That wasn't my first take. The trick to effective weathering, at least in my opinion, is layering colours.
At least we're done with the sponging.
Remember what I said about layering colours?
Can we quit with the sponging already?
Each layer of sponging has a lighter colour and less coverage. I reproduced the sticker sheet with text and Google images in PowerPoint and printed on water slide transfer paper. I also printed and cut out a series of control panels on regular paper. Digital calipers are a great idea for getting the scaling right. Some of these are tiny. Putting a black edge on the control panels with a Sharpie helps define the edges and stops them looking too much like paper. The targeting mechanism on a HISS turret triangulates by range so that both cannons fire at exactly the same point. Except when they're firing at named Joes, obviously. I wouldn't want to have to reach around in the cab to touch those panels, but I thought they looked kind of cool. And with the cab complete, we can reattach the bulletproof canopy. Pronunciation of decals or decals aside, because I printed these myself on water slide transfer paper, I cut them out as closely as possible, leaving about 1 or 2 mil on the edge. A trimmed down blister pack holds the water without spilling it and makes it easy to take the transfers out. It doesn't take long to loosen up the adhesive, and if you apply a small amount of pressure and it starts to move, you'll know it's ready. Apply to a damp surface, putting pressure on the upper layer whilst you gently pull the backing sheet away. Gently wiping away any excess moisture. I printed 2 sets of these, which is frankly fortuitous because I messed up the first couple. This is the only sticker I kept. Imagine trying to fit a transfer in there. Don't forget to breathe.
I know what you're thinking. We're almost done, right? Nope.
The trouble with any artistic endeavour is knowing when to stop. And I didn't. Just one more pass. A little more rust, dirt and dust. Now we're getting somewhere. This Cobra machine that has served its crew so well. A stalwart bastion against the oppression of the Joes. Through thick and thin, since 1983. It leaves you wondering, what about the cargo? You can't have a scale model without baggage, so a few choice accessories get a paint treatment. And here's where the pin vise comes in handy again. few choice drab military style colours to enhance the contrast. Another wash and wipe with burnt umber. And a quick dry brush. To hang the rucksacks on the back of the tank, I made some small hooks out of 1.2mm wire and fixed them in place with super glue. A quick paint and some localised rust, and it's time to make a mess with some weathering powders.
Definitely best to wear a respirator.
Weathering powders add a natural matte dusty finish to any build. Vallejo Pigment FX Natural Umber is my current favourite.
At least there's no more sponging.
Yeah, about that. A final delicate pass in bright silver alludes to recent dents and scratches, revealing the raw
Battle!
beneath. And we are finally ready for the battlefield. And but one question remains.
What's Destro going to think of it?
Bravo 6 to Echo 2 actual, we are in position. We have a visual on the target. Copy that, Bravo 6. You are clear to engage.
This model was ordered by
Cobra!